Recording has been started. Hey, please confirm if my screen is visible. Are we good to go? Okay. Okay, so yesterday we were discussing about abstract classes. So the topic of discussion, we have already discussed about this abstraction. Especially, we have achieved abstraction by using abstract classes. Okay. Today we are going to see a new topic which is called as interfaces in Java. Okay, this topic is very important to develop any full-fledged Java application. So please stay focused. So interfaces. So what does it mean to be an interface in Java? When I say interface, what are the things that we can achieve by using interfaces? First question. What is the one thing that we can achieve by using interfaces? If you get this kind of question, the answer is very simple. Okay. Interface in Java is used to achieve 100% abstraction. Okay. So interface Java interface is used to achieve 100% abstraction. Okay, so ideally, let us go back to our example. So we know what is an abstract class. Okay, an abstract class can have what is it? It can have abstract methods. Public abstract void m1, as well as it can also have non-abstract methods, right? It can have the method, which is an abstract, as well as it can have the concrete methods. You can place the abstract methods as well as what? You can also place concrete methods. Suppose sometimes I will be having a requirement. Okay, I just want to keep abstract methods in a particular container or in a particular class. Okay, I do not want to place concrete methods. What is my requirement? I don't want to place any concrete methods. Okay, my requirement is I just want to place some abstract methods. I do not even want to think about the concrete methods. If this is my requirement, okay, if my requirement is very clear, guys. I do not want to place any concrete method. What is a concrete method? A complete method. A method with a body is called as concrete method. Right? A method with a body is called as what? The concrete method. A complete method, I can say. Right? So if I have such a requirement, instead of using an abstract class, I can use an interface. Are you getting this? If I have a requirement like I just want to place the abstract methods. Okay, I have two options. Okay, I can either use abstract class, abstract class. Okay, by using abstract class, I can place abstract methods. This is one of the ways, right? This is one of the ways. What is the other way? What is the other way that I'm talking about? But this abstract class, it will also allow you to place the concrete methods. What is a concrete method? So this is a concrete method. Public void m3. Okay. So a method with a body is called as what? Concrete method. So no. So this is concrete method. Okay. If you have a requirement like you have to place abstract method as well as concrete method, go for abstract class. Okay. But if you have any requirement like you just want to place the abstract methods, you do not want to place the concrete method. Okay. If you have such kind of requirement, instead of creating an abstract class, go for interface. Just use the interface keyword. That's it. So the interface is just like a Java class. It's just like a Java class, but you use the interface keyword. Okay, it is used to achieve 100% abstraction. Theoretically, these are the things that we can discuss. Interface is used to in Java is used to achieve 100% abstraction. So ideally, what does it mean? You can place only abstract method inside the interface. You cannot place the concrete method. Let us see what will happen if I place the concrete method. Public void what is it? Let me take the name of the method as m3. It is throwing an error to us. Abstract method do not specify what. It is asking us to place only the abstract method, not the concrete methods. So this is the first takeaway. Okay, what is the first takeaway that we have? Interface in Java can have only abstract methods. This is the first takeaway. Okay, now observe one thing. Do the observation. Okay, it is not necessary to place this keyword like public and abstract. You can remove this. You can remove this public abstract, because so it doesn't really matter when you place public abstract or when you remove this. The compiler is going to do what? The compiler is going to treat the particular abstract method as public abstract by default. For example, if you give this code to the compiler, okay, if you give this code to the compiler, okay, when this code has been given to the compiler is going to do some changes. Guys, what changes it is going to do? Okay, it is going to place what? It is going to place. Okay, this is before compilation. This is before compilation. Once this code is compiled, the compiler is going to perform some changes. Okay, it is going to do what? Interface A. Okay, before this before this method, it is going to add these two keywords. What are they? Public abstract void m1. Okay, public abstract void m2. Okay, so that is why by default, okay, all the methods are public and abstract by default. All the methods in the interface are by default, they are what? They are public and abstract. You can place these two keywords or you can ignore placing these two keywords, but compiler will place this. If you forgot placing these two keywords, compiler will place this. Okay? If you are not forgetting and if you are okay to place these two keywords, no issues. Both are the same. Either you can place public abstract, public abstract, no issues. If you remove also, these two methods will be treated as public abstract by default. Okay, this is the second takeaway. Okay, what I can say here, all the methods placed inside the interface are public and abstract by default. Okay, very simple. We have an interface. Okay, if I say there is an interface like interface here, okay, I am declaring a method inside void m3. Okay, so the method is void m3. No, the method has no body. When you give this code to the compiler, when you give this code to the compiler, what compiler is going to do? Compiler is going to add these two keywords, which is what? The public and default. It is going to add these two keywords. Public and abstract. Public and abstract. So what I'm trying to say is all the methods inside the interface is public and abstract by default. Even though if you specify or if you don't specify, no issues, it will be treated as public abstract by default. Okay, now this is the second point. All the methods inside the interface are public and default by nature. The third point, you can't instantiate a Java interface. What does it really mean? You cannot create an object for the interfaces. Unlike classes where you can create objects, okay, you cannot create objects for what? Java interfaces. Even we cannot create object for abstract classes. So abstract classes and interfaces, okay, if you want to define one common thing, you cannot create objects for the abstract classes as well as for the Java interfaces. Instantiation means nothing but object creation. So I can write it like you cannot create an object for the Java interfaces. Okay, let us go back to the code. Okay, I can do what? I cannot do this. This is not possible. Why this is not possible? A is of what type? A is of interface type. So what it says, you cannot create object for the interface. Cannot instantiate. See, look at this. Look at the suggestion. Can't instantiate the type A, because type A is of what? Type A is of what type? What in nature? It's interface in nature, right? You cannot create an object. So this is not possible. Error. You can't create an object for an interface, but you can assign the reference variable. What does it mean? A is of interface type obj. You can do this. This is possible. A obj equal to, you can you can assign a reference variable to the interface, but you cannot you cannot perform the object creation. You can assign a reference variable for an interfaces. Okay, what is the next point? You can assign a reference variable for an interface. Okay, now focus here. Okay, we are just expanding this code. I'm just increasing the complexity. So for what we have understood so far we have understood what? We have understood we have an interface. Inside the interface we can have only the abstract methods. Even though if you declare public abstract or if you don't declare public abstract, the compiler is going to treat it as public abstract by default. By declaring it as public abstract or without this declaration, by default it will be treated as public and abstract in nature. It will be treated by the compiler by default. Okay, and third point is what? You cannot create an object for the interfaces. This is not possible. You will get an error. Fourth point is what? But you can assign the reference variable for an interface. So this is an interface. You can assign a reference variable. Okay, so what is the reference value that I can assign here? That could be the question. Reference variable is fine. Okay, if I want to assign a reference value, what kind of reference value I can assign it to the interfaces? Okay, very simple. You need to take a class. Okay, to complete the structure of it, to get the complete benefits of an interface, you should use the class. I'm taking a class as class B. Okay, so I need to make a relationship between class and interface. Okay, so very simple, guys. If I want to make a relationship between two classes, very simple. If I have class A, let me take it in bracket. Okay, if I have class B and I have class A, if you want to make a relationship, very simple, right? How I can achieve making a relationship between these two classes? I can directly use what? Extends keyword. Sir, no? Class A can extend to class B. When you use extends keyword, there is what? There is easy relationship. Okay, likewise, if I have two classes, one class is abstract in nature, abstract class C. Okay, and I have another class like class D. If I want to make a relationship between abstract class and the ordinary Java class or the concrete class, okay, same thing. I can use extends keyword. I can use what? Extends keyword. Now, if I want to make a relationship between an interface, okay, interface E and class F. You want to make a relationship between an interface and a Java class. Okay, what keyword I can use? Okay, I can use what? I cannot use extends keyword. I need to use implements keyword. Implements keyword. Remember this. Class to class, go for extends keyword. Okay, so class to class, go for extends, and class to abstract class, go for extends. But class to interface, use implements keyword. This is how you make a relationship. Without making any relationship with the interface, you don't get the interfaces are useless. Interfaces are actually useless if you do not make a relationship. Okay, you will utilize these benefits by making a relationship. How you can make the relationship? Just by using the implements keyword. Okay, class to class extends, class to abstract class extends, class to interface implements. Okay, sir, what if I want to make a relationship between two interfaces? Good question, no? What if I want to make a relationship between two interfaces? If I have interface H and if I have interface I have two interfaces. I want to make a relationship between these two interfaces. Okay, to make a relationship between two interfaces, and again the keyword is extends. Okay, if the hierarchy, look at this hierarchy, if the types are same, class extends. Okay, abstract class, okay, I mean of course abstraction is also a class, type is same extends. Okay, when types become different, implements, same extends. Are you getting this? Okay, having said this, if I go back to the code, if I want to make a relationship between a class and the interface, what I'm supposed to use here, I need to use implements keyword. Implements keyword. Are you getting this? Okay, so but there is a question here. Okay, so whenever you are making a relationship, when a class is making a relationship with an interface, you need to fulfill a contract. What did I just say? You need to do what? You need to fulfill the contract. What contract that the class needs to fulfill when it is implementing an interface? Okay, all this method, the implementation has to be given by the class. Okay, this is just a declaration. This is the method declaration without the body. Yes or no? Method has been declared, but this method needs a body, right? Okay, the class that is implementing the interface should fulfill the contract. The contract is what? It should provide the implementation, or else we will get this. Look at this, it is breaking, the class is breaking. It says type B must be implementing. Okay, it is asking the class to implement all the abstract methods that is placed inside the interface, right? Okay, you have a shortcut, add unimplemented methods. Okay, you can remove this, remove this, nothing. Okay, void m1 method. So you are giving a body. Inside this body you will provide the complete implementation. Method names are same, you are overriding it, that's it, overriding it. So that is the contract. If a class is implementing an interface, what is the contract? If there are the implementation needs to be given for all the abstract methods that is placed inside the interfaces. So implementation has been given for this abstract method, and the implementation has been given for this abstract method. I can write any logic here, any business logic. So for the time being, let me write it as what? M1 method is implemented, right? The second thing is M2 method is implemented, right? Okay, so interface is there, a class is there, and there is a relationship between class B and the interface A. Okay, and we have used implements keyword to engage with the relationship, or to make the relationship. Okay, after making the relationship, we need to fulfill the contract. What is it? We need to provide the implementation for the abstract method. This is how we can provide. If you are not providing this implementation, the code will be broken. Okay, this is how the Java is designed. Whenever you are implementing an interface, make sure that you are also doing what? You are also giving the implementation. You are giving the implementation for the abstract methods, or you are giving the body for the abstract methods. Right, now go back to the main code. Okay, so we have just did what? We have just declared, right? We have just created a reference variable for the interface. You cannot create object, but you can create a reference variable. Okay, by using this reference variable, I can create object for the subclass. What is the name of the subclass? B. Are you getting this? Okay, you cannot create object for the interface. Okay, agreed. But you can create the reference variable. Okay, what is the value that I can assign? You can assign a value of object type, okay, which is which is implementing the interface. When class B is implementing the interface, create object for the class B. This done. So these two lines of code can be written like what? As a single line. I can remove this. That's it. Okay. So parent interface reference child class object. Okay, by using this reference variable, I can execute m1 method as well as m2 method. M1 method as well as m2 method. Okay, let me run this. Okay, m1 method is implemented. So we are getting these methods getting executed because they are overriding these methods. Obviously, this method will be given a chance for the execution. Are you getting this? So what is the next thing that we need to discuss? Okay. You can, or else I can say a class can implement an interface by, or a class can make is-arelationship with an interface by using implements keyword. Okay. Once the relationship is made, the class has to provide the implementation for all the abstract methods that are inside the interface. Okay, that is what we have done right so far. Okay, what is the next thing that we have done? Okay, you can create the object for the class and assign it to the interface reference variable. I'm not writing something that is not discussed. So what we have just discussed so far, the same things I have written in the notepad, right? So the object is created for the class and this class is implementing an interface. So I am giving the reference. I am using the reference variable of what type? Interface type. Okay, by using this reference variable, I am able to call m1 method. I am also able to call what? m2 method. Right? And next question. So the interface can have abstract method. At the same time, the interface can have variables. Interface can also have what? Variables. But the question would be like, what kind of variables that we can place inside the interface? There is a condition for this. You should remember this condition. What kind of variables that I can place inside an interface? Any variables that are fixed in nature, that are not changeable at any cost. Any variables that are always fixed, that are always permanent, that are not changeable. Okay, you can what? You can place such variables. Okay, whenever you are using a class, inside the class, okay, you have an option to place variables like instance variables. Possible, right? You can place static variables. Possible. You can also place what? You can place static variables. Also, you can place final variables. Final string name ABC. Okay. So there is a lot of flexibility inside the class. You can place all types of variables inside a class. But when it comes to an interface, you can place variables it should be public static final. Okay, public static final in nature. You can place any variables, but those variables should be what? Public static final, and the data type of the variable string, data type of the variable, and name equal to Balaji. So I cannot just give the declaration. This is not possible, because the final variable should always have the values assigned whenever the variable is getting declared. The value must also be assigned to the final variable. Both should happen. You cannot just give the declaration part and the values cannot be assigned later. Both should happen at the same time. Right? So all the variables should be what? Public static final in nature. Are you getting this? Now you see there is a twist. Okay, you may get a question. Okay, see now let us write some notes. I will tell you what is it. Okay, please be informed that all the variables that is getting defined in an interface should be public static final in nature. Okay, but it is not mandatory, because this public static final, okay, even though if you use public static final or if you do not use public static final, okay, compiler will add what? Compiler will add. If you don't add, compiler will add public static final. If you add, no issues. If you don't add, compiler will add. So I can conclude what? By default, all the variables that you are placing, all the variables that you are declaring, by default they are public static final. If you declare it, no issues. If you don't declare it, compiler will declare it. Are you getting this? So you may get a question like this in the interview room. Okay, they will see. Okay, they will say the name of the variable is name itself and the value is Balaji. Right? Now the question could be like, okay, so what they do usually, okay, they say, okay, see, you can actually print this variable. So no, you can actually print this variable. Okay, a dot name. Okay, if this is an instance variable, if this is not final, or if this is not static, definitely object is required to access this variable. Yes or no? If this variable is instance, if this is instance variables, for to access any instance variables, object creation is mandatory, right? Object creation is mandatory, but by visually we are able to see that this variable is instance. Internally what compiler is doing? What? It is placing public static final without your knowledge. See, it's very simple. If I take this interface, okay, let me remove all this. If I have this interface, visually I can see two things. I have a variable and I have two methods, two incomplete methods. Visually this is what I see. Internally what is happening? Visual thing is okay. Internally what is happening behind the scenes? This is the visualization. What are the internal things? What compiler is actually doing? Okay, so if you give this code to the compiler, okay, compiler will do what? It will do some optimization. Okay, what it will do? It will try to see, okay, what kind of block is this? So this is of what? This is an interface. So compiler will do, okay, if this is an interface, in the interface the developer has defined a variable. Okay, what compiler will do? The variable should be what? Public static and final. Okay, it will treat every variable inside the interface as public static final. Likewise, it is going to treat every method inside the interface like public abstract. So the things that I am marking in red are what the compiler's optimization. So this is how it gets treated. So I can conclude that all the variables inside the inside an interface is public static final by default. Even though you mention, even though if you don't mention, they are public static final. Okay, I am not mentioning it. Internally, compiler is going to add public static final. Okay, since it is a static variable, I will be having what? I can use the interface name directly, and I can use the name variable directly to access it. That's why object creation is not required. Why object creation is not required? By default, it is static variable. See Balaji. Right? Since it is a final variable, I cannot change this variable, guys. Can I change this variable? Can I do this instead of Balaji? Can I change it to Ratna? It's not possible. See, we are getting an error. Why we are getting an error? The final field. It says final field. Have we declared final field here? We haven't declared any final field. Who is declaring the final field? Internally, compiler is doing this. Internally, compiler is doing what? It is doing some optimization. It is treating all the variables as public static final. Where is the proof? Where is the proof? This is the proof. This is the proof that the variable is static. Okay. This is the proof that the variable is final because it is not allowing modification. Okay. So it is a proof because we are able to access using class name. I mean interface name. Using the interface name. Object creation is not required to access the static variables. This is the proof that the variable is static, and this is the proof that the variable is final because modification is not allowed. Right? I can conclude, right? I can conclude. Please be informed that all the variables that is getting defined in the interface not should be is public static final by default. When I say by default, if you declare it public static final, no issues. If you do not declare it, it will be treated as public static final. Are you getting this? Yes, no? Hello? Are you getting this? Everyone? We are just discussing a lot of theory. Okay, very simple. Whenever, if I give you an interface, okay, interface can be anything. Name of the interface can be anything. If I give you this, I'm saying there is an interface. I'm saying there is a variable name integer a equal to 200. Okay, and there is a method void m1. What you should do? You should think from the compiler point of view. Think from what? You should think from the compiler point of view. What is a compiler point of view? By default, all the variables are what? Public static final. Yes or no? Okay. So this is not an ordinary variable. By default, this will be public static final. Okay. By default, the methods are what? By default, they are what? Public abstract. Are you getting this? Okay, so you may get a question like this in the interview. Okay, they will say, you just tell me whether it is valid or not valid. Interface B. Okay, so I am saying string a equal to, string a, I am just saying. Okay, they will give you this code and they will ask you if this is a valid one or invalid one. What you would say? What is your answer? What is your thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on this? Valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? Only two answers are there. You should answer invalid. Chaitanya says invalid. Do you agree with Chaitanya? Everyone? Yes, sir. This is of course invalid. Why this is invalid? What compiler will do? Compiler will do what? It is going to perform some optimization, right? So compiler will add public static final, right? Public static final for all the variables. Okay. So when it is adding public static final for the variables, okay, the public static final variable must have the value defined, must have the value assigned. It cannot be just declared. Okay, this is incomplete. When you are saying A, you should also have assigned the value to the A. Some value should be there. It's a mandatory. Why some value should be there? Why some value? Because final variable should hold a value. That is mandatory. If you're not declaring any value, you will get a compile time error, because all the variables are public, static and final by default. Final variable should have the value, mandatory. You cannot ignore the value. Final variable should have the what? Value. This will be checked by the compiler. Okay, this is incorrect, invalid. Are you making sense, everyone? Okay, the question could be right. The next question could be interface X, I'm saying, right? And I'm saying void M1. Valid or invalid? This one. This one is valid or invalid? Answer, come on. What about? Okay, this one is invalid. People who are saying valid, try to think once again. Why? How come this becomes valid? Interfaces can have only abstract method. This is the concrete method. No, it is invalid. What compiler will do? Compiler is going to do some optimization. What kind of optimization is going to do? It's going to add public abstract. Okay, all the methods will be public abstract. This keyword will be, these two keywords will be added by the compiler, but it is finding a method, a concrete method. Body should not be there, right? How come this will become valid? Invalid, no? Okay, that's what I said. Look at the first point itself, says all the methods placed in the interface are public and abstract by default. It means you can have only abstract methods. You cannot have any methods that has a body. Invalid, no? Getting this? Everyone said valid. People who said valid, are getting this, Chaitanya? Right? These things you need to take care. Very simple. Just focus on these points, focus on these rules. You'll get this. Okay. Third question. Okay. When I have an interface A. Okay. Just tell me A obj equal to new A. Valid or invalid? This part. Can I create an object for interface? This object creation is possible for interface? No, it is not possible. So this is invalid. You cannot create an object for an interface. This is invalid. Right? Next question. Okay, when I have an interface, okay, I am running out of the spaces. Let me open the new one. Okay, when I have an interface, okay, can I create a reference variable for this interface? This is valid or invalid? Okay, this is valid. You can create a reference variable. There is no restriction to create a reference variable for interface, but you cannot create object. You cannot do what? You cannot use a new keyword. It's not possible. Never ever think about creating an object for a Java interface. This is absolutely not possible. Right? But you can create reference variable. Okay, next question. If I have an interface, A, class B, okay, extends A. Valid or invalid? Come on, answer. This one is valid or this one is invalid? Come on. Naidu Sagar says valid. Anyone? Jyoti says valid. This is invalid, guys. Why this will become valid? People are saying valid. Just you need to think something about a class. Class cannot extend interface. Class can implement an interface. You are using an extends keyword. This is not possible, no. Class can implement an interface. It cannot extend an interface. When you are making a relationship between an interface, and between a Java class, Okay, never ever think about the extends keyword. Always think about what implements keyword. I have used extends keyword. Very simple question now. Why you are making mistake? Implements, right? Did I use extends keyword here? We cannot use extends keyword. I use extends keyword. See, it is saying we are getting an error, right? Implements. Are you getting this? The last question. Everyone, are you getting this? Are you getting what I'm trying to say? People, type something in the chat box. Now, next question. Think and answer. Okay, I have a class. I'm sorry, I have an interface. Interface A. Okay, inside this, I have a what? I have a method. I have a class. Okay, this class is implementing interface. Valid or invalid? Is this valid or invalid? Come on, everyone, answer. For Vijaykanth, everything is valid for Vijaykanth. What about others? What about others? This is valid or invalid? Good, good, good. Good, it's invalid. Chaitanya is correct. Why this is invalid? Please ensure whenever a class is implementing an interface, okay, you need to the class needs to fulfill the contract. What is that contract? Implementation needs to be given for this abstract method. What needs to be given? Implementation needs to be given for this abstract method. Okay, so internally compiler is going to do what? Compiler will add public abstract. Yes or no? Public abstract. Okay, and a class is implementing an interface. Okay, you need to give implementation, guys. That is the rule, that is the contract. Okay, this is missing. Implementation is missing. When implementation is missing, how come this becomes valid? Public void m1. You need to give the body and you need to give the implementation. You can give any business logic here. Are you getting why this is invalid? Chaitanya, you are absolutely correct. People are getting. Is it making clear? All my questions are surrounding around or revolving around this, from these points only. I am not asking you any questions out of this boundary. Okay, now focus here. Okay, next question. Next point to be remembered. Okay, can we have constructors inside the interface? We cannot have constructors inside an interface. Please remember. We can't have constructors inside an interface. What does it mean? What does it mean? When I have a class, okay, this is a typical Java class. If I give this class to the compiler, okay, even though I am defining the constructor, I am not defining the constructor, no issues. Compiler will provide a default constructor. Yes or no? Yes or no, class A. Okay, compiler is going to do what? Okay, it is going to think the programmer has forgotten to place a constructor. Okay, so let me place a default constructor. Okay, like that it will think and it will provide what? It will provide a default constructor. Why I am not getting these things in writing? We provide a default constructor and the first line of the default constructor is super. Right? So this is the story about class. What is the story about interface? Do you think the compiler is going to provide, and treat, I have an interface. Okay, if I give this code to the compiler, if there is any any variables, it is going to give public static final. There is any methods, it is going to give public abstract. If you give this code to the compiler will not add an constructor. Okay, constructor topic is not applicable for an interfaces. Compiler will not do what? It will not do this. So this is a blunder. Okay, this is what? This constructor concept is not there for interfaces. Never ever think about constructors. You cannot apply constructors topics in an interface. Okay, what is it? We cannot have constructors inside an interface because all the variables are public static final by default. What relationship it has the constructor do with the variables? Okay, so by default all the variables are, you cannot have the normal variables, right? If you have any normal variables, and if the interface is allowing you any normal variables like integer a or float b, okay, so declaration is done by using the constructors. By using a constructor, you can assign these values, because the job of the constructor is to do what? To assign the instance variables. But there is no concept of instance variables in an interfaces. But there is no concept of instance variables inside the interfaces, because by default all the variables are public static final, and it should be assigned. The moment you declare this, the same moment you have to assign the variables. Yes or no? When the variables are by default public static final in nature, okay, do you think the constructor is required? Because we are already assigning the value. This is mandatory because variable is final and static. Okay, if the variable is not final and static, then you can think about the constructor, because constructor will come into picture so that you can assign values in the runtime using constructors. Okay, by default the variables are public static final. Then where is the scope of what you will do with the constructors? Okay, so that's why never ever think about the constructors or interfaces. Right, next one is, you can't have static methods or final methods inside the interfaces. Okay, you can have two only. Literally, you can have only two things, guys. You can have the variable should be public static final and abstract methods. If you are declaring it or if you are not declaring it, by default it is public abstract. If you declare it, no issues. If you are not declaring it, also no issues. Compiler will declare it. Public abstract in nature, right? And they are what? These are public static final. Getting this? So these are the key points for what? For the Java interfaces. What is the purpose of Java interface? Interface in Java is used to achieve 100% abstraction. Okay, and these are the key points that we have discussed about what the Java interfaces. Right? A class can extend class, and a class cannot extend to an interface. A class can implement an interface. Right? Making sense? So advantages of the interfaces, we will discuss about the interface advantages tomorrow. But I want to introduce one more thing here. Focus here. Okay, let us say that I have two interfaces. Okay, this is interface 1. Okay, and I am taking another interface. Interface B. This method is m2. Now, if you see, let me remove all this. Remove all this. Okay, I have two interfaces, right? And I have one class. Okay, one class can implement more than one interface. one class can implement more than one interface. So we can achieve multiple inheritance by using interfaces. See, in Java classes, okay, if we have classes, especially we have discussed about this multiple inheritance of Java classes. If I have class A can extend to only one class. You cannot use this. You cannot keep a comma. You cannot use a separator like comma, and you cannot introduce another class. So this is talking about what? Multiple inheritance, which is not possible in Java. After extends keyword, you cannot use two classes, but this is not possible. But by using the interfaces, by using what? By using interfaces, if you have an interface A, and if you have another interface B, and if you are taking a class C, this C class can extend to both the interfaces A comma B, no issues. I mean, not extends, implements, because interface, right? Implements. So literally you can achieve multiple inheritance by using interfaces, not by using Java classes. You can achieve by using Java interfaces, because it will allow to implement more than one interface, right? So go back to the program. Okay, so why this is breaking? This is breaking because, okay, okay, should take C because there is a duplication. And again, why it is breaking? We need to implement the unimplemented methods, because class is implementing A. What is your contract? When you implement an interface, give the implementations for the abstract method. So we haven't defined any implementation. When you're implementing an interface B, give the implementation for this abstract method. So what I'm doing, I want to give the implementation. So I'm just using the shortcut. You can type. So error gone. Okay. Class C is there. Class C is implementing A and B. Okay, let me add some code here. System.out.println. Okay, m2 of B. Okay, m2 of A. Okay, so let me copy this code and go to the paint screen. Let me increase the font. Okay, here is our code. Yeah. So class C, we have a class C. See, this class C is doing what? This class C is implementing two interfaces. This one interface and this is another interface. What is the name of this interface? Interface A, interface B. What is happening? Relationship is happening. Implements. This kind of hierarchy is called as what? Multiple inheritance, because one child can have more than one parent. This can be achieved by interfaces. This is what we call it as what? Multiple inheritances. Multiple inheritance. Okay, so now I have two interfaces, A, OBJ. I cannot create object, right? For interface, I cannot create object, but I can declare, right? A, OBJ. Just assume that this is the main class, okay? I have another interface, B, OBJ. Okay, but I can use the child reference, right? I can use the child reference. I can create object for the child class. Yes or no? C is of class type, so I can create object for C. Two times I can create. Two objects I can create. Okay, assign these references to these objects. Right? I can do this now. Okay, instead of what using this I can do this. Use the references of an interface, okay, and assign a value, and the value can be the object type of class. This is possible, right? This is possible. Okay, we'll go back to the code. What I am doing from the main class, I am creating references for the interfaces, or I can create two objects, new C, new C. Okay, I can create reference for class interface A and interface B. A obj equal to, okay, B obj1 equal to. So by using this reference variable, I can call what? Respective matrix obj1 dot, what is it? M2, okay, and obj dot, what is it? M1. M2 of B, M2 of A. Oh, what is it? M2 of B. This is M1 of A. M2 of B, M1 of A. So I have created two objects, okay, and the implementation interface are AB, interface A, interface B. So since we cannot create object for the interface, I am keeping the reference and I am creating object for the class. Okay, this has been assigned to the respective interface references. So by using this reference variables, I can call the respective methods. So obj, by using obj, I am calling what? M1, because obj is of what type? A type. A means what? This one. So this interface A is implemented by class, right? And implementation M1 is given here. So this will be displayed in the console. Likewise, when I call M2, this will be displayed in the console. Making sense? So this is what the multiple. So here there is no confusion to call which, to ideally there is no confusion here. There is no ambiguity here. It is very clear that which method needs to be called. That's why multiple inheritance is possible with interfaces.